face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello, I'm Gamechisa Mandira, your host for the news this hour. Stay tuned. Tunisia and Saudi Arabia signed 5 agreements and memorandums of understanding on Sunday aimed at expanding cooperation across a range of sectors including customs, mining, postal services and media. The agreements were signed during the 12th session of the Tunisian-Saudi Joint Committee, which opened in Riyadh and runs for 2 days. The accords include an agreement on cooperation and mutual assistance in customs matters, a memorandum on postal sector cooperation, and MOU on mining cooperation between the 2 countries' industry and mineral resources ministries. Additional agreements cover radio and television cooperation and a program for news exchange between the national news agencies of Tunisia and Saudi Arabia. Officials from both sides said the agreements strengthen the legal framework of bilateral relations and reflect growing economic ties. They also agreed to continue discussions on further agreements, boost trade and investment, cooperation, and increase joint projects, particularly in line with Saudi Vision 2030, while encouraging stronger engagement between private sector representatives from both countries. Ethiopian President Taye Askeselasi recently delivered opening remarks via video at the China-Ethiopia Coffee Conference held in Zhuzhou under the theme Test Ethiopia, Embrace Opportunities. The conference aims to promote Ethiopian coffee and explore new avenues for trade and investment between Ethiopia and China. In his address, President Askeselasi underscored Ethiopia's centuries-old coffee heritage, describing it as a symbol of the country's culture, tradition and economic potential. He highlighted the significant role of coffee in Ethiopia's economy and emphasized the country's commitment to expanding trade ties, attracting investment, and enhancing bilateral cooperation with China in the coffee sector and beyond.
Ethiopia, the historic birthplace of coffee, takes immense pride in offering the world-treasured specialty coffee varieties such as Yirgachefe, Sidama, Kafa, Harar, Jimma, and many others. Today, Ethiopia's coffee industry stands at the backbone of our national economy, supporting 25% of our employment and generating 30% of our foreign exchange earnings. This conference is a testament to the dynamic spirit of cooperation between Ethiopia and China, which is now at its zenith of an all-weather strategic partnership. Following the recent mission to Ethiopia led by Madam Betty and the Ethiopia-China Friendship and Cooperation Committee, I'm impressed by the commitment with which the Juan Municipality Party Committee and government have supported this initiative. The commitment shown by the Hunan Provincial and Junjua Party Committee and municipal leadership reflects a profound understanding of Africa's economic potential.
The conference gathered industry leaders, government officials and business representatives from both countries to discuss market opportunities, quality improvement and sustainable practices in coffee production and trade. President Askeselasi encouraged participants to leverage the event as a platform for building partnerships, sharing knowledge and promoting Ethiopian coffee globally.
Our collaboration extends far beyond the coffee bean. Under the framework of China-Africa cooperation, we share a comprehensive vision where agriculture and rural green development, trade, foreign direct investment, and connectivity serve as the gateway to a broader industrial transformation. In this spirit, we highly appreciate the innovative strategies proposed by our partners, particularly establishing a premier distribution hub, which will position Xinjiang as one of the central gateways for Ethiopian coffee within the vast Chinese market. The second one is strategic industrial synergy, which aspires to align Xinjiang industrial prowess with Ethiopia's development aspiration to create a sustainable and multi-sectoral ecosystem. This, however, should not be limited on agricultural produce and critical minerals, but extend to value-added commodities. Doing so will enable African countries, such as Ethiopia, to meaningfully integrate into the increasingly demanding global chain. To translate these ambitious goals into concrete and actionable milestones, I call on all stakeholders to collaborate closely and in a spirit that reflects the broader China-Ethiopia cooperation.
The event reflects Ethiopia's ongoing efforts to strengthen economic diplomacy and foster mutually beneficial relations with key international partners, with coffee serving as cornerstone for cultural and commercial exchange.
Modern farming methods in Ethiopia are transforming agriculture and boosting productivity across the country. Agriculture remains the engine of growth, prosperity, and food security in Ethiopia.
Moving to Angola. Angola has unveiled a new tourism tax aimed at international visitors staying in local accommodation, revolutionizing tourism sector financing at a strategic moment for the country. Last week, the Council of Ministers reviewed 6 legal instruments designed to streamline procedures through the recently approved Simplica Turismo program. One creates a tax on international visitors, charging 5% of the nightly rate they pay for accommodation like hotels, resorts and lodges for up to 7 days. For those staying longer, the tax will not apply beyond the week-long period. Angolan Tourism Minister Marcio Daniel touted the measure as a game-changer, telling the press it will revolutionize the way the tourism sector is financed. Other measures approved by the cabinet include the establishment of a new tourism strategy, creation of a bureau dedicated to attracting events, and development of maritime tourism. The draft decree establishing the events tourism strategy seeks to capitalize on the large-scale national, regional and continental investments Angola has made in recent years, particularly the $3.8 billion Antonio Agostinho Neto International Airport. This strategy involves the creation of a convention bureau overseen by the Minister of Tourism. It will position the country as a dynamic player in the MICE, meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibition market, currently dominated by South Africa. Another draft decree establishes measures for the development of maritime tourism, particularly cruises. The government aims to leverage port infrastructure with capacity to receive cruise ships along popular routes. Gabon President Brice Oligui Nguema nominated 9 constitutional judges, stating their appointment marked a key step in restoring constitutional order in the country after Parliament's renewal. The appointments made in accordance with the Article 123 of the Constitution followed the recent renewal of Parliament and mark a major step in the country's return to full constitutional order. The President highlighted the critical role of the Constitutional Court in upholding the rule of law, protecting citizens' rights and ensuring accountability within state institutions. He called on the judges to perform their duties with the highest standards of integrity, impartiality and dedication, reminding them that their work is vital for the nation's stability and democratic progress. He urged all public officials in institutions and citizens to respect and support the Constitutional Court in carrying out its mandate, emphasizing that collaboration and commitment to justice are essential for the continued development and prosperity of the country. Moving on to business news, Sudan's Ministry of Minerals said on Sunday the country's gold production for 2025 reached 70 tons, 13% higher than the target. The Sudanese Mineral Resource Company, an affiliate of the ministry, said in a statement the mining sector brought about 1.08 trillion Sudanese pounds, equivalent to $1.8 billion in public revenues this year. Minister of Minerals Noor Al-Daim Taha called for doubled efforts in 2026 and directed those new national projects be included in the mining sector's development plan. Sudan relies primarily on gold export to obtain foreign currency. Its gold production had peaked between 2017 and 2022. In 2022, gold was the country's top non-oil export, accounting for 46.3% of total non-oil exports, with a value of $2.02 billion out of total exports of $4.357 billion, according to statistics from the Central Bank of Sudan. Yet, the gold production declined to only 2 tons after 5 months of war in 2023, followed by a surge to 64 tons in 2024. The African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, has settled a dispute with Ghana over a $750 million loan, though it didn't disclose if it would take losses. Issues surrounding the facility signed in 2022 were resolved to the satisfaction of both parties, the Cairo-based lender said in a statement posted on its website Thursday, without providing details on the terms reached. Africa's top gold producer renegotiated more favorable terms on $13 billion of $5.1 billion of bilateral loans and more than 200 billion cedis, equivalent to $18 billion of domestic debt, as part of the debt restructuring exercise. When Ghana sought to rework the Afreximbank's facility, the multilateral lender argued that its private creditor status meant it shouldn't have to accept losses. This impasse, a similar one with Zambia, which also moved to reduce its debt by seeking softer repayment terms, prompted Fitch Ratings to downgrade the bank's long-term debt by 1 notch to BBB in June. Now on to sports news. Sudan produced one of the tournament's biggest surprises with a shock win that revived their hopes of progressing. The match remained on a knife edge until the 74th minute, when a moment of pure chaos in the Equatorial Guinea box changed everything. The result marked a rare highlight for Sudanese football and provided a moment of pride for the nation amid ongoing challenges at home. Sudan now heads into their final group clash against Burkina Faso on New Year's Eve, with everything to play for. If they can replicate this offensive masterclass, a place in the round of 16 is within their grasp. Mozambique also made history by claiming their first ever Africa Cup of Nations victory, ending a long wait for success at the continental finals. The landmark win was celebrated as a breakthrough moment for Mozambican football and underlined the growing competitiveness of teams traditionally considered underdogs. Finally, Algeria secured their place in the last 16 of Africa Cup of Nations after Riyad Mahrez's penalty gave them a 1-0 victory over Burkina Faso on Sunday. Captain Mahrez converted from the spot midway through the first half at the Moulay Al Hassan Stadium in Rabat, and Algeria then held on to win a bruising contest against a determined Burkina out. Algeria, African champions in 1990 and in 1919, have maximum 6 points after 2 games in Group E and are yet to concede a goal, with Vladimir Petkovic's side living up to their billing as one of the pre-tournament favourites. Burkina Faso and Sudan come next on 3 points each, but play each other in the final round of group games on Wednesday. That means Algeria are guaranteed a top 2 finish even if they lose their final outing against currently pointless Equatorial Guinea. Algeria had to come from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 with the Stallions when the teams met at the last AFCON in the Ivory Coast, a result which contributed to their group stage elimination. This time, they claimed all 3 points, with the penalty that decided the game awarded when Manchester City's Ryan Aït-Nouri was bundled over. Mahrez made no mistake with his 23rd minute kick as he followed his press in the opening 3-0 defeat of Sudan to take his tally at this Cup of Nations to 3 goals. Next are the most recent weather reports from the region. That's it for the hour. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.